Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live on WCSB Late Night Radio here at in Cleveland, Ohio. And, you know, we are so blessed to have on the telephone lines with us right now Ken Prescott and Dorothy Kloss. Ken, how you doing?
Hey, Ray. Good morning.
Wow, Ken, you two have been globetrotters here. You're everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been trotting to L.A. We did the Steve Harvey show, Forever Young.
Wow. And Steve Harvey, ironically, is from Cleveland.
Is he? Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Steve Harvey's from Cleveland. But anyway, tell me about the show. You were on Forever Young.
Yeah, last Wednesday, actually, I just got a deal. It was the highest rated show of the season so far.
Isn't that?
That's no surprise to me. I mean, you guys are amazing. You've been on this show, but a lot of people around the country are just discovering Ken Prescott and Dorothy Kloss. I mean, what amazing performers you guys are.
Well, I guess that's because, if we had an interval in our lives.
You know what the lead producer says? Now they like me.
We had those careers, and then, suddenly other things came along, and then there was, and now we're really back.
Well, to promote that show, NBC... we were on the ET Insider, we were on Home and Family on the Hallmark Channel, and on Access Hollywood, and all of them we performed and sang and carried on. It was fabulous.
They were very good too.
Yeah,
they really were.
So, isn't it great to be recognized? And you were kind of in obscurity for a little while, and now all of a sudden everybody's finding out how great you are.
Well, I don't know about that, but we had our 15 minutes. We're trying to stretch into 20 minutes.
Well, the more time you spend on this show, it's going to help because we have a huge audience. We have people from all over the globe listening right now. We have people from.
Well, they better sit up. They better straighten up and fly right then, Ray. That's all I've got to say.
You're darn right, Ken. Our friends in Toronto are listening. We have people from all the way out there in Broadview Heights, Ohio. Wow.
Broadview Heights.
How far is that? About 10 miles?
Probably about 14, I think, if to be exact.
Yeah, I knew it.
Anybody in Europe?
Nobody. It doesn't look. Yes. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me check Europe. We have British Columbia. Oh, yes. Leipzig. I think that's Germany.
Oh, Germany.
Yeah, we have somebody in Germany.
Oh, that's great. Do they speak English? What's going on?
Sprechen die Deutsch.
We've had some. We had Uganda once. We had Vietnam.
Yes.
And Rio
Good morning,
de Janeiro. We've had some.
I spent a year in Vietnam in the military. That was quite enough. No. Not returning. No.
Well, you could do USO.
I could. Listen, you guys, we're going to be in at the Texan Theater in Greenville, Texas, July 20th. We're doing our live podcast that we do every week from the theater as a luncheon, and the 21st we're doing our live stage show.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Now, wait a minute. It deserves more.
Yeah, Oh, come on. No,
wow.
Come on, Cindy. Let's get a little whoop there, baby.
What do you want me to say? Wow!
You have to rile them a little bit.
Well, geez, it's the middle of the night there.
I don't know. What is it here? It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, almost 10 o'clock. Yeah. So, Ray, what's been up with you?
Well, doing a lot of work, interviewing a lot of celebrities, and doing a lot of DJ gigs, and I do a lot of trivia nights around the Cleveland area, just trying to keep myself off the streets at night. So, yes, I mean, radio is kind of like, it's like our little sandbox. We are able to go in and play and create things here. So, I mean, metaphorically speaking.
Are you guys governed by the FCC?
Basically,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
We have our lovely palatial studios here, and we're living the life of royalty up here, actually.
Yeah, but we're in safe harbor right now, so we're not governed as much.
Indeed. I want to picture these palatial studios.
It's gorgeous. I mean, I feel so regal up here, I just feel like...
Really?
Have you got a crown?
Next time
sort of.
Next time I go to Burger King, I'll get you one, Ray.
Yeah.
We got to get the executive dining room where you can get the anchovies on the side with the liver and the what else did you say?
So Ken, let me ask you this. Ken, when are you going to come to Cleveland and do your show?
Well, Ray, here's the deal. If you can get somebody off their keister there to book us, we'd love to. Listen, we have a really great show. We have great media with it, too. So we have, slides of us performing, and there's some videos and stuff. So it all kind of dovetails into one another, and it's really it's a fun show. It really is.
Many, many, many years ago, Ray, I played Cleveland a lot.
Yes.
That's before I met you,
Really?
And, and used to stay at the Carter Hotel. Is that still there?
No, it's not. No, unfortunately, I'm sorry. That's okay.
Thank you.
Now it's a pizza parlor. Well,
let me ask you, is the theater there, what was it? Not the Fox. I'm not sure. The movie theater is still there in the same spot?
Yeah, the movie theaters actually, if you're talking about like Lowe's, Ohio and the Allen and the Palace, those are now Playhouse Square theaters.
Yeah, see, that's what I figured. Well, it used to be movies,
Oh, yeah, back in the day. Uh-huh.
Cafe News, the movie of the week, and the stage show with the big band.
Oh.
So that's been that was 42. 1942.
Well,
you
yeah.
remember.
None of us were here.
No, that takes me back. No, I'm just kidding. But
you're so full of it.
But hey, Dorothy, you may remember there was a theater here in Cleveland called the Hippodrome.
I remember. Yeah, I didn't play that, but I remember the Hippodrome. And the great agents. My agent, I was with MCA at one point, and then the O'Malley agency, and they used to work through the Senes brothers that were in Cleveland.
Do you know who they were, Ray?
I am actually, to be honest with you, I do not.
Oh, too bad.
They were big agents.
They were. They were great, and eventually they went to Vegas. And the Senes brothers, they had the big hotels,
and they had it all tied up.
Yeah,
they were
really
probably one of the boys. We're not sure which ethnic origin they were.
Don't be making statements like that. But they were really nice people to work with. They really were. And then there was a lovely place there called Monaco's. And it had a society band, and it was a lovely
big nightclub.
Yeah, it was a big nightclub.
Is it still there?
No, Monaco's would be gone, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it is gone.
No.
Yeah.
Where was it?
Where was it? Do you remember?
Well, now you're going too far.
It was 10 miles away from where you are now.
It was in the heart of
Cleveland.
The downtown there, was at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long ways. I'd have to go back to the scrapbooks.
Yeah, 1942. There's been a few, there's probably been a few changes.
There's been a change in my weather and a change in me. They've got a great change in me.
Ken Prescott and Dorothy Kloss are special guests. Listen, it's the top of the hour. We got to do we have to do a disclaimer, an ID, and we got to run some PSAs. Can you guys hang on for just a moment?
You betcha, Red Ryder.
You're listening to WCSB Cleveland. And we'll return in just a moment.
No. I was still going when television first came out.
Yeah, but you taught and stuff, so you never stopped dancing.
But I never really stopped.
So since 1941, really?
He knows my career better than I do.
Well, I've listened to it often enough. I should know. Now, listen, Ray, before we get into that, I want to, there was that TSA that was just on?
Yeah.
About the internet?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought he said, are you afraid of the intimate, not the internet?
Yes. A little play on words.
I thought, what is this? What kind of a commercial is this?
You're not supposed to be correcting.
No, I'm not correcting him. I just couldn't at first I went, what what's he talking about? It was the internet. The internet.
Yes. You never know what you're going to hear here late at night.
Well, I'm telling you. So listen, are you going to get us a gig in Cleveland? What's going on?
Well, I'm going to do my best because I think you guys need to be in Cleveland.
Oh, we do. In fact, we just got another big gig in Florida at the end of September, too. So, and we may be going to Long Island at the end of August. So things are, snapping along here.
Yeah. That's nice.
Best stay in a hurry. We're also doing our own podcast, too, which has really been fun. And we've had, like you've had so many wonderful guests. And we've had some wonderful guests too, Tippi Hedren and
she's
Rich Lynn. Yeah, it's been Dina Martin.
Oh, Dina Martin.
Yeah.
She's so great.
She was great,
and she was so nice too. Tippi too, and Tippi too,
and Tyler too. Yeah.
And, what was great is when they say to you at the end of the show, because you never know how you've affected their lives. But they'll say, "Oh, can we come back? Can I come back?" And Dina was one of them.
Yeah,
it was Tippi.
Yeah, but
and we said no.
No. Of course you can go back. Also, I contacted people like Richard Maltby is.
Yeah.
Yes, Maltby and Shire.
Well, I just out of the blue I saw on LinkedIn, so I contacted him, and early on in our show, I called him, and he said, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." And I didn't know him from a load of coal, and he was so nice. And afterwards, we've gotten emails from him a lot saying, "Oh, gosh, I love you guys, love Richard." So it's really kind of nice when you connect with people and they enjoy their experience,
Do you know anything about the Magic Castle here in L.A.?
Yeah, I interviewed the gentleman who owns that. Milt Larson, yeah.
Yeah, so did we. Yeah.
Milt is a very nice gentleman, and I really enjoyed the experience. He kind of walked me through it. I saw pictures of it, but as he described it, and you start to learn more about the Magic Castle, you kind of go, wow, this is really like a playground for the the magicians of the world. This is like their Cooperstown. They go there and they see all this wonderful stuff, and it's like they're in heaven.
Oh, and did you know that I played that? The Magic Castle.
Wait a minute, you played that?
Yes. Well, here's the deal. There was a Halloween week, and in the big theater there was last scene was a cemetery, and there was Mr. Dead, played by Matt Flendell, and he called out his living older sister, Dorothy, and she tiptoed through the tombstone and did a big tap dance number at the end. It was hilarious.
Through the cemetery.
It was fabulous.
So I can always say I danced at the Magic Castle. And, guess who came back?
Oh, now listen, so we're backstage, and the stage manager comes back and says, "Marilyn Manson wants to meet you. He's out front." Dorothy said, "Who's she?"
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Who's Alice Cooper, too? Who is she?
But he was a super guy,
And he said, "Oh, you're such an inspiration."
Now, this is the best part. So Dorothy was one of the stars of the show, but at the beginning, she did a little bit in a different wig. So we're backstage with Christopher Hart. Remember the hand in the Addams Family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The moving hand. Well, he's the guy that did the moving hand. He's a great magician and a great guy, and we're good friends. So he's backstage. We're sitting there, and he says, "Ken," he says, "Who's the other girl in the show?" I said, "What do you mean, what other girl?" "Well, he said, there's Dorothy, and there's Diane, and there's that other girl." I said, "That's Dorothy in a wig, you twit."
That's one of those secrets in life, those wigs.
I'm telling you. No, but you've never been to Magic Castle. It's great.
Oh, my God, it's worth it, too. And did he mention that they're building the new one in Santa Barbara?
Yeah. It's got to be remarkable. Santa Barbara is one heck of a community. It's beautiful over there.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Probably not quite as beautiful as Cleveland, but beautiful.
Well, could anything be as beautiful as Cleveland? Nothing. No.
Or what was that borough you just said they're listening to you 14 miles away? What
Broadview Heights.
Broadview Broadview. I'm sure Broadview Heights is equally lovely.
Yeah, well, Broadview Heights is upper middle class, very nice area. If you can get a house there, it's wonderful. I happen to live in Lakewood, which is the first community.
I know Lakewood.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And I live out in Brunswick, which is called Brunstucky.
Yeah, I'm on the east side, or I'm in South Euclid.
But Brunswick really is, the stigma about Brunswick goes way out in the sticks, but it really isn't that way anymore. Brunswick is a very nice community. It's built up and very nice houses. And you know what it is? Anywhere you live can be a nice area. It doesn't always have to, you don't have to live in a magic castle, but it's what, home is what you make of it.
Well, it's true. Well,
It wouldn't be bad.
no, I like to live in a I like to live
And see what magic.
Yeah, we didn't get. But don't you think now that I mean, I'm sure all the outer communities there have all built up, and they're just one big city, right?
Yes and no. That's
Well, what I mean is, it's very. I mean, there's. It's not just like there's fields and fields, and then some little town.
No, you're correct. You're correct. There's not a lot of. There is some green space, but there's. As you get out west or farther out east, the communities become more sprawled. But in the greater Cleveland area, it's very densely populated.
Each community, though, has their own stigma. Like, for instance, the biggest suburb of Cleveland is called Parma, all right? And Parma, for years, was the subject of a lot of humor, jokes.
Certain ethnic jokes. Because of the fact that
Isn't it Italian? Isn't that from Italy?
it's mostly it's either Polish or Slovenian or
Eastern European.
Really?
Slovak. Yeah,
They're Eastern European descent, and they're people that moved over here slightly after post-World War II. And they were always noted for being a little bit kind of not with things. They weren't.
You can say it, Ray.
Well, they weren't. They were always they weren't as hip as the rest of us. Not that they were bad. They were really hardworking people, but it had that stigma to it. So they would make fun of it, and that Parma was really. It's a unique area. It's got a lot of stuff in it, but if you're from a different part of Cleveland, you go into Parma, you know where you're at.
Right,
It's just very. It's got its own personality.
Well, Lakewood does too.
Now, hold it one darn minute. Well, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that they are from old country in Parma?
Yeah.
And it's nice. They got a lot of unique butcher shops and unique stores, such as.
Well, President Clinton used to go there.
Butchering in those butcher shops.
Yeah.
No. Former President Clinton used to visit a pierogi stand.
Oh yeah, pierogies are huge.
Pierogies are
huge.
Yeah.
I know all about pierogies. I was married for a brief period of time to a Polak.
Oh, really?
Well,
You didn't.
Listen, I'm an equal opportunity offender. Forget that crap.
Ken Prescott, our special guest, along with the lovely and talented Dorothy Kloss, the oldest living showgirl. Dorothy, am I allowed to ask your age or not?
Oh, everybody else. 93.
90.
She's 93 years old, ladies and
And
gentlemen.
the pictures of you are unbelievable.
93, Dorothy.
I'm hip for the big one,
94.
Yeah.
No, the one bigger than that.
Oh, yes.
And then we're going to do, right now we're doing the golden age of entertainment.
Yeah,
we do a few more years. It's what we have to.
I don't know. We'll have to find a platinum age in entertainment.
Well, Dorothy, I saw your pictures. Cindy showed me your picture on her phone. You're gorgeous. I mean, my stars. I mean, 93 years old and
And dancing like
you
like
dance.
Well, that's life,
Legs like Tina Turner.
Say what now?
Legs like Tina Turner.
Yeah.
Tina Turner.
Tina Turner.
Tina Turner once had a tuna turner. Did you know that?
Wow.
Tina Turner.
This is great.
You have to excuse him tonight.
Oh, there is no excuse for me.
This is 20 minutes. This is great.
We were on Forever Young. Did you guys see the episode? Probably not.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
It was on this past Wednesday. They not only did we sing and stuff, they built this huge steel staircase unit down which Dorothy came as I was singing. I mean, it was enormous. It was the set was amazing. It was just.
Well, you know what Elaine Stritch always said. It's all about steps. They must have heard that because my God, how many steps was that I came down? Hoping that he would stay in the position he was supposed to be.
Oh, I mean, this was we had a wonderful time though. It was great.
Hey Ken, let me ask, or Ken and Dorothy, let me ask you, what was Elaine Stritch really like? I never met her. Cindy.
She was a bitch.
Oh.
Yeah, she was hard nosed, right?
Listen, she was a tough. I mean, I thought she was talented, but she was tough.
Well, maybe she had to be. If you were in show business, it wasn't all fun, you know.
No, I guess that's true.
You were dealing with agents and bookers.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, she had her days.
I don't know.
Well, remember the story now. You know, Ray, here's a good one. Just in regard to that, Loretta Young. Now,
right.
Tell them about what her son.
Oh, I love. You know, this is so. We did the Dorothy. We did the talent. I put the show together. There was a star awarded to her posthumously in Palm Springs, and so we did the star, and I did the entertainment. And her son, Chris Lewis, came to meet me, and he was a really nice guy, and we sat down.
I do believe I was there, too.
Yes, you were. And we sat down and talked about Loretta Young, because I thought she was a great star. Do you remember Loretta Young?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
No, you don't.
No, I do.
I do.
Oh, sure.
Well, remember, Cindy, she used to swirl through
the door, you know, Anyway,
Yeah.
So I sat down, and I said, you know, tell me what your mom was like, and, you know, particularly the Loretta Young show. And he said, well, you know, she wanted what she wanted. I said, well, wasn't it called the Loretta Young show? I said, sounds reasonable to me. You know, because the deal is if the show has your name on it and something doesn't go right, they don't blame anyone else but you.
Right.
You know, it's true. It's like the Ray Carr show. They're not going to blame Cindy. They're going to blame you.
They're going to blame me, and that's all my responsibility.
And who's the other gentleman in the background?
That is Ed Pauley.
We call him Rockin' Ed. He's the one that we get the music from every week.
Well, he has one song a week.
One song. One song.
But Ed Pauley is a school teacher. He's a music historian. He's a musician himself, and he's just a lover of radio. So, you know, when we do these overnights, it's kind of like part of our radio family. We just invite him in. It's kind of like sitting around the campfire telling stories.
You know, I have one more place I want to ask you about.
Sure.
You won't know about it, but just to please me, I know you won't remember, but maybe you heard about it. There was a big nightclub in Cleveland called the Alpine Village. And it was a great place to work. And they had a stage that used to come up and go down. And so you were above the audience, you know, and it was just a wonderful. Is there like a nightclub? We don't really have nightclubs. I don't know what to call it. But like in Chicago, we had Rush Street.
Yeah, is there a section with nightclubs in Cleveland?
Well, yeah, it's over by like East 4th. Is that there's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2x4-inch street, and it's got more stuff on it. It's got a bowling alley and 5 restaurants and the House of Blues.
See, the nightclub scene really, you know, it's not really like the nightclub scene like it back in the, you know, the 40s era.
No,
nightclubs because nightclubs nowadays, you know, could feature anything from hip hop, you know, to, you know, whatever. And we've got a venue here in Cleveland called the House of Blues, which I believe is their House of Blues in other cities too. And it kind of showcases talent that you probably wouldn't see, say, in a regular bar or at a large concert venue. There is an artist that Ray is a big fan of called Richard Cheese.
Yes.
I don't know if either of you have heard of Richard Cheese or not, but Richard Cheese is an artist.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did you say cheese like as in cheese?
Like
cheese.
It's a stage name.
Well, like Ricardo Queso in Spanish, he'd be Richard Cheese in English.
But everybody in his band, the last name is a cheese.
Like Buddy Gouda, you know, Frank Fetta, you know, you get the idea.
And then he names his albums like The Big Cheese, The Head Cheese.
You know, there's things. What he does, though, here's the hook. he records popular songs of today and makes them sound like they're from a lounge, like a lounge singer would do. He gets a rap song and sings it like Sinatra would sing it, the exact words of the song, but he does that style of singing, which makes it hilarious.
You should hear Baby Got Back.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and he'll do Stairway to Heaven. He'll do, all sorts of ones.
TV themes. He does the Brady Bunch theme.
So he has an album that he does TV themes he calls it, instead of Nick at Night, they used to have that, he calls it Dick at Night. So that's, which is perfectly legal. That's what the name of the album is.
Pardon me, did you say Dick at Night?
Yes. Yeah, that's what.
We're in safe harbor.
No, but I'm not trying to be dirty or anything. That's what the name of the album was.
How about calling it Richard in the evening instead of Dick at Night?
Well, he was doing a play of words off Nick at Night.
I know.
Now, Dorothy, to get back to your question, yes, the Alpine Village was in Cleveland, opened November of 1931 and closed by it says it closed by 1961. And it was located at 1614 Euclid Avenue.
16
Euclid Avenue. Well, 16? See, now Monaco's wasn't far from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the theater.
Yeah. But now it's the Playhouse Square there, huh?
Yeah, that's 14.
Yeah.
So is it all the theaters right in that area there?
There's like 7 of them.
They renovated that entire area about, was it 15 years ago? Because 15 years ago it was a complete slum area.
I think it was 72. They first did the show that saved them, which was what was it? It was Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris. And then from there they ended up, I think it was like hours from the Wrecking Ball with the Hannah or the Allen, and they saved that, and now they're all theaters for shows.
Yeah, the area down there is wonderful, Playhouse Square, and it's got Idea Stream, NPR's over there, and just there's a whole host of wonderful things, and it's right off the Cleveland State campus, which is growing by leaps and bounds.
And the Wolstein Center across the street from there has a lot of venues as well.
We're
lot
like
of different
about
shows.
3 minutes down the street from it.
So.
Oh, I see.
Now, do you still have? I think I know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the Blue Law there on Saturday.
Sunday you can't sell liquor or whatever that is.
Oh.
Not really. I mean, there are some places that they do have that, but I think if you want to drink, you certainly can easily do that. There's most places I think you can drink on Sunday. I don't think I've ever been
with the casinos here. I mean, it's almost like
Well, you see, it's all changed.
Oh yeah.
They used to have
No, you're right. You're correct. There was that when I was growing up. Yeah, I think you had to wait till 1 o'clock to serve liquor.
Yeah, or you also had to buy. Well, not Philadelphia.
Yeah, but
still you have to get it.
Kansas had it too. A lot of those Midwestern, states were.
The reason I asked is because there were a couple of after-hour places closed. Everybody in show business knew where they were.
Yeah.
And you knock on the door, no.
Like a speakeasy.
And they let you in.
No, I mean, I played a lot of bars in the 80s, and we would just lock the door at 2:30 once the bar closed, and we would drink all the way till 7 in the morning. I mean, back in the days.
Oh, my God, Ray. And now you're reformed.
Yeah, I haven't had a drink in 25 years. Not that I drank a lot, but I was like a teenager those days.
Then why would you give it up?
Why would you give it up, Lord?
I was playing so many different sports. It was getting in the way. So that's I thought. But I picked up a bad habit of wanting to do radio. That's kind of like my vice now. So,
I think I'd stick to booze.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wonder. Yeah, maybe I should go back to Johnny Walker. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny's been waiting for you, Ray. I'm telling you.
and his brother Jim Beam, huh?
Yeah, and his buddy Weiser. Yeah.
And his other and his Spanish brother Jose Cuervo. They're all waiting for you, baby.
Yeah. Ken, I'm going to play. I want to play something. I want you to listen to this PSA real quick. It's about a minute. It's about 2 minutes long. It's hilarious. All right, I want you to just take a listen to this.
I think this is
okay.
Yeah, we're going to be right back in about 2 minutes.
I love how your eyes close.
How do I feel about WCSB? Well, it's like WCSB is my girlfriend, the perfect girlfriend. almost too perfect. And it makes me freak out because I think that things are so perfect that a relationship can only go downhill. So I end up trying to date other girls, and there are some other nice girls out there, but none of them are exactly like her. Sure, they like a lot of the same things that she does, but they're just not as interesting and high-spirited and crazy in that fun, quirky way she is. And so I realized that there's just no one else like her, and that I couldn't imagine being with anyone else. And I feel so lucky because I have no idea what she sees in me, but whatever it is, I'm glad she feels that way. And listening to WCSB is like coming home after a long, soul-crushing day at the corporate office, where I'm just a small cog in a big machine, doing menial work for some rich guy who's just getting richer, while I feel like I've sold my soul for almost nothing. But then I go home, and she's there. And she's back from working at her feminist bakery. And so I tell her all about my day, and how I feel like a soulless automaton with no integrity whatsoever. And then she just looks at me and says, "Don't worry, I have enough integrity for the both of us." And then we make out, and everything feels better for a while. That's what listening to WCSB is like. So I just wanted to tell you that you're listening to WCSB Cleveland, the most wonderful girlfriend you'll ever have.
So what'd you think? Unbelievable.
Oh, sorry, I fell asleep for a minute. No, I'm kidding. Who did? What did that all mean? Yes, who did it? Who did it? Was that you?
No, I didn't do that. It's a gentleman named Eric Wolf. He's a DJ here in the station, and it's such a funny PSA here.
It is funny. It is funny. It's peculiar, but funny.
It's actually an ID. It's the ID for the station. So.
Oh Lord.
WCSB is my girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Is that the station we're on right now?
Yes, it is. WCSB in Cleveland, which started in 1976, and we're broadcasting to 38 streets and half of Ohio. So it's nice.
And in Broadview Heights, and in Parma, and in Brunswick.
And Lakewood, yes.
Lakewood.
Portions don't forget that Parma.
Yeah, Parma. Parma!
I'm telling you, that there was a city in Italy called Parma.
That's where it was named after, yeah.
Yeah, well, then how come there's all kinds of Polish people there? I don't understand.
That's a $6,400 question.
How weird, huh?
I don't know.
They let the Italians in.
I guess maybe a couple of Italians came, and then the rest of them came. Who knows?
Well, the Italians were primarily on the 65th and Detroit and Cleveland.
Well, mostly on the east side.
Well, in Mayfield too. But my parents, my mother was Sicilian, so she grew up on the near west side.
So, is your real name Carr?
It is my real name. Yeah, my mother's maiden name was Salvaggio.
Oh, see, that's...
Aha.
Oh, picture this.
Sicily, 1923.
Yeah, that's... Yes,
wow.
Well, it is an interesting... we have an interesting dynamic in the family. Growing up with a lot of Italian influences, there's offers that are made to you that you can't refuse.
Wake up with a horse in bed, did you?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Roll that back again. And what would these offers be?
Well, I can't disclose those over the radio right now. I'm sworn to secrecy.
I see.
So what was your dad?
Yeah, what was your dad?
What was my father? He was a great athlete. He was in the...
No. We mean ethnicity.
Isn't it Irish? Isn't that Irish?
We've had a geneticist look at this, and we've found out that he's a rare... No, I'm just kidding. He's part German, he's part Swiss, and there are some...
Yeah, that's what I like. The German is real, the word, jawohl.
Yeah, I'm German, so... I'm Swiss.
So I don't know what else.
Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
No, I don't. There's probably some other things in there, but mostly Sicilian, because that's really what I grew up with the most influence. Because his family they didn't celebrate their ethnicity very well. So, that was just a name. So we really didn't get into much. The only thing my dad really taught me was we always listened to baseball. That was the one thing I grew up with. Music was not part of my upbringing at all, really. It was all about sports. And baseball 24 hours a day, that's all I did. And then, as I got to be about 16, 17, then music started to play a bigger role in things. So.
But didn't you think, I mean, I'm German or some Dutch or whatever the heck it is there. But, I mean, don't you think you got a good work ethic?
Yeah, with things I like to do, sure. I mean, there's a level of dedication. There's a level of being assiduous with things, following through, doing things right, putting things where they need to be, and doing the extra work to put yourself in a position for success. Yes, there is that element, but I don't like to go. I don't like to do that unless I have something I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but I mean, Dorothy and I always talk about this. I mean, when we were growing up, you did the best you can with what you had to work with and tried to, and kept doing it and tried to make everything as good as you possibly can. Today, I don't quite see that same commitment to excellence.
Well, there's a lot more here. I was growing up in the Depression, for gosh sakes.
Yeah.
I can remember my brother John. I mean, it was bad times back then. They used to have the truck come, the relief truck.
Do you know what a relief truck was?
It brought you groceries during the Depression.
I've heard of them. I did not know exactly what they did because I didn't grow up in the Depression, but I knew that my mother did, and things were very difficult.
But, we never really knew it. I mean, we were kind of a happy group, my two brothers and my mother. My dad had passed away, and when he was like 39. But I can remember my brother coming home, and he had a car, an old car, and he said to my mother, "Mom, come out. Wait till you see what I've got." And she said, "Oh, God, what have you got now, John?" And he said, "Come on, you're going to be happy with this." And we walk out, and he's got this old car. And he said, "Get in, Mom." And she got in, and she said, "Well, John, there's no floor in it." He said, "I got it cheap."
That's why there's no floor in it.
And he did. He said, she says, "Well, I mean, how are you going to drive?" He said, "Well, it's an easy way to stop. I just put my foot down
and drag it on the ground."
Oh, Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, the Flintstones.
Yeah, the Flintstones.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
But the kids of today, everybody has their own bedroom and everybody has their own bed and all decorated lovely. And I think that's wonderful. But we were lucky if we had a bed,
Yeah.
In those days.
Don't you say? I mean, it's wonderful to have everything, but sometimes it's wonderful to work to get things, to not everything handed to you. I guess I sound like an old poop, but
yeah, you are.
I am an old poop, but I think just too easy, don't you think?
In some cases, yes. And I think that with the society that we're in right now, it created more of a level of narcissism amongst many of our young people. Not everybody. Not everybody, of course. That's not fair to say that. But there is a large amount of them I have seen that they're very self-absorbed, and which is the way things have been going, I think, for a while.
Well, as far as show business goes, it used to be, or at least when I was young in New York, if you had an injury or you were sore or whatever, you didn't tell anybody. You just dealt with it and went on. Today, every little ache and pain, they're pissing and moaning about. It's unbelievable. I was choreographing some shows, and these dancers came up and, "Oh, Mr. Prescott," I said, "What's the matter?" "Oh, I'm sore." I said, "I've been sore since 1967. What's your point?" I mean, you never used to complain. You just sort of got on with it.
Right. Listen, we got to read this real quick. Portions of the following broadcast may be objectionable to certain members of our listening audience. Therefore, WCSB advises listener discretion. We're required by the Federal Communications Commission to read that. And as we continue on with our wonderful conversation with two of the most wonderful people in the world, Ken Prescott and Dorothy Kloss, they are calling us from Hollywood, California. We are broadcasting on WCSB in Cleveland and on the internet all over the world. And as I said that, let's continue on. And Ken, tell me, sir, what is the most important lesson you've ever learned in show business, which has kept you going all these many years?
Well, it wasn't money.
No, it wasn't money. No, it wasn't money, baby. Oh, you know what, Ray? I think the most important thing in any profession, you were talking about passion for it. You know, if you don't really love it, you shouldn't be in show business.
Yeah.
Because you really have to love it. Because, you know, Dorothy and I are both lucky because I sing and I do a lot of things. We dance. I've choreographed, so I've directed. Dorothy's choreographed. We teach. So if one avenue is temporarily at a halt, you know, then you go down another path. But you have to love, you really have to love, don't you think, Dorothy, show business? I mean, you really have to love it to stay in it. Otherwise, don't do it.
Yeah. I would completely concur with that. I mean, I'm not at the level you guys are, but in the world of radio and what I do, the only way I've been able to stay with it is you have to love it. And the one thing I think you have to be good at is I think you have to be somebody that can read a crowd, read a situation very quickly and be extemporaneous and be able to act, you know, at a moment's notice to change direction if need be. I think some people have a hard time with that.
That's true.
Oh, yes, we've changed directions many times. You go, whoops, I'm in the wrong room. Wait a minute, next. Okay.
Love it. But you guys know what I mean. You've been in showbiz. I mean, you're on stage and things don't always go according to plan, and sometimes you gotta. And you know that, and you gotta deal with it, and you can't make it look like there's been a mistake. You just go along and like nothing happened.
You know, there was an old, I don't know if I told this story, and I may have, but I like it, so I'm going to tell it again. There was a big nightclub called the Persian Room in the Plaza Hotel in New York City, and I was about 20 or something. There was a very famous chanteuse, singer, you know, with long gloves. Her name was Hildegard. And she wrote a song called Darling, je vous aime beaucoup, je ne sais pas what to do. So she was doing her whole act there, and she's very elegant. She's at the piano, and this jackass in the back, and he kept cackling, and finally she stood up, slammed the lid down the piano, and said, "Darling, the show is on, and I'm it," and sat right down and continued the show. You have to, and he shut up, and he didn't utter another sound. But occasionally I don't think we've had a heckler though, have we, Dorothy? No, we've only had some.
It's my age.
It's her. Yeah, they won't do anything to her. If I was by myself, they might give me some crapola, but otherwise, no. We've had great audiences though. We really have.
We do.
They like what we do. They like the era we evoke. We're happy. The era we evoke. I'm telling you, I went to school, and no, but it. Oh, shut up, Cindy.
But I do think that's a lot wrong of today in show business. There really isn't a lot of humor.
Yeah.
Like there used to be. I mean, you had your big Christmas shows with Perry Como and Bing Crosby, and they brought their kids on, and everything was very festive. And we've lost a lot of that.
And they had a really heart. They had heart in what they did, and I don't find so much heart anymore in performers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It becomes like they're almost like they're mailing the performance in. They're like a robot.
Well, they are. Like some of these performers, I don't know if you know, like some of these modern singers who have to pre-record their vocals, and then when they get on stage, because of all the choreography that they have to do, they're lip syncing their songs, essentially.
Just get angry when Beyonce lip-sang the song she sang at the inauguration.
Yeah, she
like,
lip-sang.
Really? You know?
Oh, well, first of all, not her, but half of them only have 7.5 notes anyway.
Yes, and auto-tune. Yes, auto-tune.
No, but you know the problem is, like here in Palm Springs, it's one of those things where in the newspaper, you know, they advertise so-and-so is going to be at the Purple Room or whatever. And, you know, we only really have one big theater here, the McCallum, which we did a tribute to the Follies
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was, it wasn't a book show, but it was
a production show.
You know, and whatnot, musical and Yankee Doodle Dandy and all that. But anyhow, but the thing is with most of these groups get together, and then it's a tribute to Frank Sinatra. Everything's a tribute, taking somebody else's talent
or somebody else's name
and making a show out of it.
Because they don't have enough personality to do it on their own, I guess.
Well, I mean...
No, I think that's part of it, though. I think the other part of it is they don't think that their stuff is worthy, so they do that so that it'll draw more people in.
But you have to try it out before you can throw it away. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I know. Yeah. No, but you know, is it Ed?
Yes.
Ed, he was saying about the singers. You know, I'm not going to. I won't say it on the radio because I don't want to have any networks down my throat.
But it's driving you crazy.
It's driving me crazy. We saw 2 4th of July specials that were absolute crap. I mean, they were really bad. They were badly produced. They were badly directed. The singers were okay, but they had no heart. They came out. They sang the song,
$1 million.
and they sang the song and they left, and nobody gave a rat's rear because it just wasn't good.
Well, it had nothing to do with the 4th of July.
No, and one of them, whoever, I won't say who came out, it sang a song. It had 4 notes in it, or 4 bars of repeating notes, and showed her crotch. And I mean, it's a family show.
Yes, that's the thing. Yes, you're completely correct. That is the one thing that every female performer that comes out nowadays, that's a younger performer, they either have to show, you know,
everything.
Basically, and like Miley Cyrus and you know that type, the Lady Gaga type, you know, artists that go out there and they have to do these egregious dances, this bumping and grinding stuff, torso shaking and all this stuff, where you know they can't sing, so that's what they have to do. Now, if you get somebody that's out there that can sing, and to me, I don't know, you know, there's probably people out there, you know, of the younger generation that you know can pull it off, but for the most part, these people. And I don't care if it's hip-hop or country or rap or rock or whatever, I am totally sick of seeing twerking and this stage presence, this behavior that's basically, they may as well have their clothes off, you know, doing it right on stage.
But see, that's the problem. They want that. Some people want that, or they wouldn't do it.
Yeah, some people want that, but you know, they do. You know, I find it so. First of all, they want to be hip and cool. They're morons. I mean, I hate to give them the big news, but after they turn about 30, these people aren't going to give a rat's about these people. And the deal is, in this country, half the country is 50 or older, and they're not interested in that.
Yeah, and you know, another thing too is these performers. Okay, a pop performer nowadays has a shelf life of about 6 months to a year. Okay, like for instance, 70 years after, people are out still buying Frank Sinatra albums, CDs, whatnot,
right.
Or Elvis Presley, or the Beatles, or whomever. Okay,
or Tony Bennett. Yes,
right. But if you got some performer out there that, I don't really follow the pop music scene of today too much because
Justin Bieber.
Oh, okay, Justin Bieber.
Oh,
okay,
God.
I mean,
please.
Yeah, well, pardon me while I gag. Thank you. But anyways, right now it's like, where's Justin Bieber nowadays?
Actually, he's recorded a new song with Daddy Yankee, so it's kind of ironic. But no, I know what you mean. You're absolutely right.
In Dubai.
Who cares?
Ken, I agree with you. I don't want to.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I don't want to be hip and cool. I am what I am, and I like the music I like.
I am what I am.
And I don't care what people think about it.
That's our current show.
Well, actually, what is hip? I don't understand what hip and cool is. That's going to last for about 2 months, and then you're going to grow up, hopefully.
Well, no, it's been there for a while already.
No, what I mean is, though, being hip and cool, I mean, anybody that has any...
You're right to a point, but then you have to think about this. Every generation has had their own style.
That's true.
Singing or dancing, or in the 20s, they did the Charleston.
Right.
I mean...
They still do the Charleston today. I mean, there are young. There is a sector of the young generation that goes in for the old styles, the old clothes. I have a friend on Facebook that's 20 years old and she dresses like the 20s, and she's only 20 years old.
Ed, the thing is though, with singers. This is not singing today.
No,
singers like Tony Bennett, can sing any kinds of song. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't even know what they are. Dorothy, I couldn't. First of all, I can't understand one darn word they're singing, so I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Oh, you can understand what they're singing there. It's all X-rated type material. It's all like country music today. Not all of it, but a majority of the like say country music. It's all about. It's Friday night and I got a girl in the back of my truck, and you can listen to about 7 or 8 different songs of that genre, and that's what they're talking about. Okay.
Well, speaking of country music, you know what you get when you play a country song backwards?
You get your house back and your car back, and your
house doesn't burn down, your dog doesn't die, and you don't get a divorce.
A divorce?
Yeah, but I was going to ask you guys though, do you honestly think? Because I do. That the further music progresses, the worse it seems to get.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Not because we're old or young. A song to me is this: a beginning, middle, and an end with the melody.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not a song. It's a couple of music bars that the other night. What was it on 4th of July? She sang the same 4 bars for 3 minutes.
Oh.
I mean, it was a piece, as they say in Ireland, a piece of crap. A piece of crap, it is. I mean, it was awful. It was just awful. And the girls are out there and they're bumping their pelvis, and most of the girls are misshapen.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'd watch it if I were you.
I honestly think the funniest thing I ever saw, though, it's on YouTube if you've ever seen this. Did you ever see the program they did on the Capitol steps when Leslie Uggams was singing, June is busting out all over?
No.
You have to watch it through the Seferdzinski thing because he asked her what happened. She's singing it. No, you know the song, right?
Yeah.
From Carousel. Well, and she's singing it that has 5,000 words in it. And she's singing the first verse and it's fine. And then all of a sudden she starts singing in a language that makes no sense. What happened was the guy with the cue cards, it had rained all the night before and the next morning, and the guy with the cue cards wiped out. And he wasn't getting up, and she had to keep going because they were on camera. So she made up her own language. And she said she got off stage and nobody said a thing, and nobody, her husband didn't say anything. The people in the show, she figured she got away with it. And a year later, or 2 years later, her friends came over and said, "Honey, you're in every gay bar in America." She said, "Doing what?" The June is busting out all over.
I had a friend, Ted Scott, who used to do a lot of Man of La Manches, and he was older, and he'd all of a sudden forget the words. He'd say, "To dream, crevice stand for decide, to fight, or love control." And the audience would go, "Well, that's interesting."
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
License, I guess.
Oh. So listen, when are we going to come to Cleveland so we can sing some of these wonderful words?
Ken, that would be great. I would love if you come to Cleveland. I'd love to do the introduction for your show. I'll come out with a tuxedo and I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, now for the two most wonderful performers in the free world, will you please welcome the great Ken Prescott and Dorothy Kloss.
Oh, I'm trying to get Playhouse.
You know, though, just going back to think about it, the theater that we're going to be at in Texas, now it's a dinner theater. And it's like the old nightclubs that they used to have. And, you know, I was looking at all the people that are before us coming in, and they're all singers with guitars or whatever.
Tanya Tucker was there.
Tommy Tucker and
Tanya Tucker.
Tanya Tucker.
No, Tanya Tucker was
Does Tommy Tucker sing for his supper?
Particularly since it's a dinner theater, I think that's quite fitting.
We've lost control of the show here, folks. We've lost control.
No, I want you to be serious.
Yes, well, we're being serious. Go ahead, Dorothy.
After Tommy Tucker.
Tell little Tommy Tucker. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there was a band leader years ago.
Tommy Tucker time, sure.
There was Lauren Tucker, too. Go ahead.
Sophie Tucker. Sophie Tucker.
But back, you know, it's really unusual to have an act like ours come into this theater.
Yes, and it was an old movie theater from 1934, and it's been renovated to a state-of-the-art theater.
But what I'm getting at is that we sing, we dance, ballroom,
we tap
dance, we tell jokes, not too good, but
pretty good.
And we go back to the old days and do vaudeville. To you gotta give them everything you got
if you want to stop the show. Say, Dorothy, how do you stop an elephant from stampeding?
I don't know. How do you stop an elephant from stampeding?
Cut off a stampeder. Oh!
But you see, that's old vaudeville.
Well, no. Keep going. I want to hear some more. Go on.
Okay.
You gotta do your best, no matter what. Never let your troubles show. Dorothy, what do you get when you mix prune juice and holy water?
I don't know. What do you get?
A religious movement.
Keep going, guys.
Dorothy. If a guy comes in and finds a naked woman lying face down in his bed, what is his name?
Gosh, I don't know, and I don't care.
Willie Turner. Hey! Stop and give him everything you got if you want to stop the show.
Wow, thank you.
Second Harrison Des Moines.
No, but that's what I mean. It's like the old-fashioned show if you watch George M. Cohan.
And that's funny. What you guys did was funny. What you guys did was funny because it's not like out and out dirty humor, but it's like a little bit naughty. And something a little bit naughty is a lot better than out and out smut, where they're actually using because in this day and age, people use, 4-letter words on stage to get a laugh, and it's like something like that is funny for like 2 seconds, and it's not really, but something like what you do, it's just, it's a little naughty, but a little naughty is still, leaves your imagination, to run whatever.
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah, and that's
no, we don't.
Days of imagination.
No, we don't. No, our act is. I mean, I tell some funny things, and they're a little, but we don't do none of those expletives and stuff. That's not. First of all, that's not talent. If you can't people laugh or enjoy themselves without saying laying the F-bomb, then you're an idiot.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an idiot.
So, Ken, I want to ask you guys a serious question about vaudeville. For those people that never lived through it, like myself, how would you describe vaudeville to somebody who's never seen or heard of it?
Well, first of all, I think it was the case of there were a lot of people that had natural talent. I mean, they weren't going and learning to tap dance from great choreographer like of today. Kids, they've got all these great schools in New York.
Right.
I mean, they would help each other. There'd be a tap dancer there and say, boy, have you seen, we're going to do the Shim Sham. You know the Shim Sham? I'll show you the Shim Sham.
And then they do a break on,
they'll do a break, and they helped each other. It's like the number that we just did, we got from the Mercer brothers. Now, the one Mercer brother was James Cagney, James Cagney. James Cagney.
In Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah, he was his understudy.
Yeah.
And we worked with him in the Follies, and they were funny. It was he and his brother. And originally it was he and his brother and sister.
Yeah.
And then she got married or something.
But I mean, they had all kinds of people in vaudeville.
And they had made up, they didn't have writers writing for them. They sat down and created their own
material. I mean, Bob Hope, Jack Benny,
George
Burns and Allen, Fanny Bryce.
Yes.
I love. Do you know who Fanny Bryce was?
Oh, yes. Wasn't that Barbara Streisand's Funny Girl was based on Fanny Bryce? Yes. Okay.
Yes. Well, we saw a movie on TCM with Fanny Bryce, and unfortunately, she was great. The director didn't know, but she sang a very funny song. I'm making a biscuit. I'm making a biscuit. They had such great personalities, you know, and if they weren't good and couldn't please the audience would let them know it. So they had to be good. Today, all these morons that are clapping and along with these singers like we were talking about, they wouldn't know good if it slapped them up beside the head. You know, I mean, these people really had to work to hone their craft.
Sure, well, they had something else except sing a song.
Yeah.
I mean, in their act, you come out and you do, if today they come out and they do 5 or 6 songs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, is there anything else? And you had to have an act.
Which consists of a beginning, a middle, and an end, not just a couple of tunes.
And then, when your act went off, it wasn't like they talk about the Palace in New York, if you played the Palace. Well, let me tell you something. If you played the Palace, there would be, I would say, 6 or 7 other acts just as good as you are.
Right.
So in order to keep your standing, you had to keep coming up with other things. It's like Gracie Allen and
George Burns and Gracie Allen were?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They got married.
Well, they had to keep coming up. But, I was on I sang on a ship a couple times, and one time there was, I can't remember his name, and I'm sure he's gone now, but he was a harmonicist, and he was quite a famous harmonica player, and
that was quite good.
Harmonicist, I'm telling you. And I came off stage, and he said, God, Ken, that was great. He said, it's a shame. He said, back in the old days, we prayed that the act before us would be good because that way the audience would be predisposed to like us. He said, today, nobody wants anybody else to be good but themselves, and it's a shame.
Well, against a level of narcissism.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody should be good. I mean, why, but vaudeville that was a great time. Great people came out. It'll never be another time like that.
Vaudeville was also a time where performers helped each other out. Like if somebody was
they mentioned that before. Yeah,
if somebody was ill and couldn't do it, couldn't do a gig, they would go and do it if they had the time to do it. Or
I can remember working with the big bands, and it was during the war and whatnot, and the guys in the band. God, that sounds old, doesn't it?
The boys in the band.
No, not what's the song?
I can't remember it. Go ahead.
Anyhow, but I was going to do a new number, and so I worked it out in the studio and whatnot, and I needed an arrangement, Well, there wasn't all this carrying. The musicians were just great. And you go and say, listen, the arranger with the band, and listen, could you do this number oh, sure, Dorothy, I'll get it done before you leave. And, what do I owe you? Oh, some of them say, $5. I mean, we're talking about 1940. We're not talking about these $1 million acts now.
Right.
But
that are overproduced and they still can't sing and do anything.
But I mean, that's what I mean about you would get your arrangements. And I still have some, don't I?
Yeah, she still has some arrangements. Yeah.
From those days. And I mean, it was just great the way that they would help you and say, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll catch you the next time around."
Dorothy, who was the person that helped you out in the beginning, like in your early days? Was there somebody in particular, or were there like several people that you could mention, or one in particular?
I have many, many people. I'll give you an incident about, I think I mentioned it before that I won a tap contest. Muriel Abbott had a big dancing school, but she was in the Loop in Chicago. But she also booked all the Hilton hotels, and she was also a big booking agent. And she had this big hotel, and she also, you can see her girls, the Muriel Abbott dancers, in Buck Benny Rides Again.
With Jack Benny.
And what's the other one?
It's Mariel Abbott.
Mariel.
It's with an E.
We called her Muriel.
Yeah, but it's Mariel Abbott. And
actually, we called her teacher. You know so much about my career,
I do.
don't you?
And she booked,
You're going to run out.
Yeah, she booked Ginger Rogers, didn't she? A lot of big stars.
Hildegard,
yeah.
Liberace in the Empire Room, But anyhow, in those days, and so once I won that, then now I had the tap teacher in this school that I decided I wanted to go and was $15 a month, and my mother said, "Well, we'll see if we can make it."
Dorothy,
can you imagine?
Dorothy, we were not allowed to give prices over the air.
Okay.
Now it's 15,000. Go ahead.
Now it's 15,000. Anyhow, so when I won the contest, she said, "Come into my office." I went into her office, and she said, how old are you? And I said, "I'm 14 and a half. And she said, okay. Well, she said, "I think I'm going to put you in the Empire Room in the Palmer House." Well, that was a big show. I mean, with Eddie Duchin, and they had the line of girls, 12 girls. And great choreographer and everything. And at that time, there was a terrific, this is what I mean about giving back. There was a great tap dancer. There was Paul Draper. Paul Draper. These were a couple of the really hot tap dancers at the time. Paul Draper. And there was Georgie Taps. Georgie Taps could spin like a top. I mean, he was just a great dancer. And he was starring in the show in the Empire Room in the Palmer House. And she said, "I think I'm going to call Georgie." Now, he's starring. And see if he'll give you a routine. And I went, okay. So she called Georgie, and she said, "I got this kid, and I think she's pretty good. And I'd like you to come over and choreograph a number." He said, "Okay, I'll see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning." He worked with me for the whole run of his show there. And I went in to the next show, in the 10 o'clock little show. Now, but my point is that he came over and spent from 10 o'clock in the morning working with me on routines until 3 in the afternoon.
And he did 2 shows a night.
He did 2 shows a night. Now, that's really doing something for, and I saw him 40 years later at the Westwood Theater, Playhouse in Beverly Hills. Because I saw his name, and it's in the paper, and it said, "Whatever happened to Georgie Taps?" And I went, "Oh, my God, I got to see him." Now, I hadn't seen him, and I went backstage afterwards, and I said, "Georgie, you probably won't remember me, but I was that kid, and you were so good to me." And he, "Oh, my God," he said, "I remembered that." You're that kid. I said, well, I'm not a kid any longer. And I said, I never had a chance to thank you, but it's never too late. And gosh, I've had a great career from that day. So that's just one person, So that's the reason, as an act, we always try to.
We've gotten more people jobs, or recommended them. Yeah, don't jobs. You think though? That's what I'm talking about. There was heart. People cared about, and it's not a big deal. Why not help somebody? It does come back.
I agree with you guys.
Oh, sure. Anything good that you do, it's just like anything bad that you do. Someone's going to help you out later on.
Right. We have to take a little momentary break. We are at the top of the hour. Can you guys hang on, or do you have other commitments?
We'll hang on for a go. Go ahead, Ray. We'll hang on. Go ahead.
All right. You're listening to WCSB Cleveland. We'll return in just a moment. All right, we're back here at WCSB in Cleveland. Dorothy and Ken, I got somebody on the line that would like to say something to both of you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
John McDonough's on the line. John, how you doing?
I'm good, Ray. I'm usually there. Ed and Cindy, I do the overnight sometimes with you guys, and I missed that tonight because it's like Ray opened up a can of Rip Taylor. Those people are so fascinating. You could go on for days with them people, but I wanted to tell the story now you were talking about BUGLE. My father told me a story about Art Mix, Tom Mix's little brother, and he was one of the acts. They used to have real unique, different acts in vaudeville. Well, this guy used to injure himself. He'd smack his head on the floor, and he'd invite people to come up and punch him and try to knock him down, and guys would knock him down. And then at the end of his act, they had him kick him in the shins. And I don't know if he had, shin guards on or what, but my father said he never saw anything like that again. He goes, every time he was in Pittsburgh, because that's where my dad grew up, every time that he'd come to Pittsburgh with the troupe, he made sure he took time out to see this guy because there was no act like that.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, going up to the guy and just kicking him in the shins for fun?
Well,
I wonder what the music was like.
Probably the 1812 overture.
Yeah, all the hammers.
Oh my
God! A lot of
God.
percussion. When he was cracking himself in the head, that was drum beat.
Oh my Lord. Well, actually,
yeah, I just wanted to share that story.
I think Berg was big on animal acts, though, because, in fact, Ken and I do this in our show, but I can't even remember the name of the club there that I worked in Pittsburgh, but there was an act, and it was Texas Tommy and his horse, Baby Doll. And I said, I'm going to work with a horse.
I always say I work with a few animals myself along the way.
But that's a good story.
But they say
yeah, Texas time. And so, didn't he give you a gift at the end of the year?
Yes, he did. He carved, because he was a cowboy.
Yeah,
he liked carving.
Yeah,
and he carved me some boots, cowboy boots, ears.
Who gave those to you, Texas Tommy or the horse?
Yeah. The two guys just paid the horse.
I'm not answering that.
Oh, quit horsing around. It's a lot of horse maneuver. Okay.
A lot of horsing around.
John brought it up.
I know. Oh Lord.
All right, guys, listen. We're gonna have to wrap this up. We got a lot of stuff to do, but we love you both.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Ray, Cindy, and
everybody.
Yes, we love you. I hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ken and Dorothy. Thanks, John.
Anytime.
Thanks, Ray. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I'm listening. I'll be listening.
All right, thanks, my friend. Well, Ken and Dorothy are really unbelievable people, and we're really grateful to have them.